Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Micah, welcome to Everyday May. Today we are doing a Juvia's Place eyeshadow palette collection. I wanted to just do a quick deep dive into the Juvia's Place palettes that I have. I won't be ranking them as such because I haven't tried all of these out onto my face yet. However, Juvia's Place has one of the best eyeshadow formulas on the market, if you were to ask me, which is why I just wanted to give them a shout out and do a dedicated video to all the palettes that I currently own. I am missing a few. I don't have any of the palettes that they have released that are more neutral. So I don't have the Nubian, the Warrior 1 or the Warrior 2, and I believe there's going to be a Warrior 3 as well. I'm not sure if that's out yet as I'm filming this, but those are the ones that I think I want to see in person first, because Juvia's Place is a brand that's much more geared to people with a more deeper skin tone than mine. So I feel that the neutrals may not really suit me, but I first want to see it in person before I can make that decision. And I don't just want to blatantly buy them online, but with their more colorful ones, you will have already seen this in the thumbnail, but I have quite a few. So that's why I thought we could talk about all of these, talk to you about my favorite formats that they have, as well as some of my favorite palettes in here of the ones that I have already tried, and why I'm excited to try the shadows that I haven't tried yet. So here we go. So I think we're just going to talk size because that's how I have them organized here. One of the first palettes by Juvia's that I bought was the Saharan palette, and I really like the packaging that Juvia's Place has. This just has the face on the inside as well, and inside you get 12 different eyeshadows, and these are all warm toned, and this is the most neutral eyeshadow palette I have by Juvia's, you could say. But the reason why I feel this isn't neutral per se, even though it's a bunch of warm tones, is because it has this bright orangey red called Sokoto. And that really makes it a little bit more punchy. You get some nice cranberry shades in here as well, some reds. And to be quite honest, those are the shades I really go for when I reach for this palette. If I want to go for something nice and dark and very sort of fiery, that's when I pull this in. I definitely don't use this to do a neutral look, even though you could. If you, for instance, stick to Zoya and Hasina, those two, these three right here could make for a very basic neutral look. But I tend to go for this top row and this shade here, and maybe that orangey toned red or orange toned brown here as well, called Jamila. So these are some stunning warm tones, and this was one of the first ones that I tried by them. And I do really like how handy and small this packaging is, but it's not my favorite. I do think that it's perhaps a little bit too small, and it can get a little bit lost in my collection. But that being said, I do reach for this when I want that fiery look, and especially this shade is what makes the palette for me. This really nice, super bright, punchy, orange toned red. It's sort of is it a red, is it an orange, is it a red, is it an orange? That kind of vibe. They released another palette that has a more smaller style like the Saharan, and that's the Afrique palette. Again, a really stunning design on the front, but I also love the design on the cardboard inlay that you see when you open it up. It's very sort of African geometric inspired, and I really, really like that. And this is a palette that I haven't used yet, so I can't really say anything about the color story and how it combines on my complexion and all that. But the reason why I bought it is because it has such an interesting color story. The only problem with this is, and one of the reasons why I haven't reached for this straight away, is because the inlay where the shadows are put into is blue, and I feel that that kind of throws off the colors that are in here. I think it would have been better if it would have been this orange tone, or maybe the yellow even, that would have made the colors seem a little bit more vibrant and stand out, because the color of the actual palette is already so bright. I feel it kind of diminishes the colors that are in here. You get some stunning greens, you get a bright blue, you get this really nice orange tone is here in here as well. It seems to have a gorgeous purple, another red, and I can't wait to try this bright yellow. This is definitely a bit more of an out there color scheme, and one that I look at and I go what might I do with that? But that's exactly what I like about Juvia's, is that they do color stories that aren't just run of the mill, sort of your everyday, what you're seeing already all the time. And what I like about this palette is that it does have a really good crease shade for me, and you have this really nice inner corner like poppy bright shade as well that can really tie the look together, you could say. So I think that this palette is definitely one that can go a long way, and I can't wait to put some of these colors onto my face. The palette that really made me realize how much I love Juvia's Place is the Zulu palette that they do. And this is their 9-pan style eyeshadow palette. And I have a ton of these. This is, I think, what most of their palettes come in, this format. You get huge pans, absolutely massive pans in here. And that's another thing that I like, because the palette itself is still nice and handy. It's still quite small, but you get 9 shades that are pretty nicely curated and work well together, in my opinion. I know not everybody thinks that, but I think that, again, if you just look at undertones, you have some warm tones, but you also have some cool tones, and then you get a neutral. So what I like about this palette, and I've said it before, is that everything in here is colorful apart from the brown. So it's a colorful palette with a pop of neutral, which is your way to deepen things up or to make things a little bit more wearable, if you so wish to do so. I feel this peach shimmer goes really well with some of the warm tones that are in here, and the green and this like minty bluish turquoise color are really nice to go with this like more turquoise matte and the purple that is in here as well. So this is a really nicely curated bright rainbow palette that doesn't have all the colors of the rainbow, but you can definitely do rainbow looks with this, and I really enjoyed using this. This is such a fun palette for the summertime when you want to wear those bright punchy shades, and this is the palette that made me realize how much I love Juvia's Place and made me want to get everything they do, pretty much. Another palette that I still need to try is the Festival palette by Juvia's Place, and I do really like that this also has a guy on the front. I think that that's just, like, in terms of inclusivity, that is a really nice one. And this color story appeals to be a bit more than the Afrique. First of all, it's put in a black inlay, so you see these colors a lot better. And in here, you get 4 shimmers and 5 mattes. And that's what I really like about this too. You have a really nice bright pink right here in the middle. I can't wait to play around with that. You have another one like poppy, much more vibrant orange shade than in some of the other palettes. You get a deeper toned red too, but you also have this peach and this mustard, which can be nice as transition shades. And then your shimmers are a white, which is a very vibrant, like stark white, which is really cool. And then you have this like soft muted gold. This blue I think will be very stunning as a pop of blue on the lower lash line. And this gray shade can work really nice as a liner. So this is one that I just look at and I know exactly what I want to do with it. Whereas the Afrique is a little bit more out there for me, but I can't wait to put this on my face. Another one that I did try in the 9-pan style is the Deuce Palette. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is more pastel than the Zulu, but it's still colorful. And I know that this isn't for everyone. Not everybody loves this. But if you're more fair-skinned like me, then these are the kind of brights that will still look natural on you. I really like especially Mont Blanc, which is this like gray tone, but with like a little bit more of like a bluish undertone to it. This is so stunning if you foil it. It does require a little bit of work because you do need to like layer it with a finger, then foil it, and then you really get the shade the way it looks in the pan. So that requires a little bit more work. You have this really nice peachy coral shade, which is a nice transition on me, but also this lighter like beige shade does that too. This shade in the middle is like a purpley pink, sort of like a violet shade that really works well with some of these brighter pops of shimmer as well. This shade here, called Tart, looks like a white in the pan, but it's actually a pink duochrome. Love it in the inner corner. This is a palette that I've been able to pull lots of great looks out of, and I am loving this one too. One that I'm very excited to get to is the Tri palette by Juvias. I bought some Juvia's Place palettes in my Black Friday haul, and then someone said, "Did you already check out the Tri palette?" And I hadn't. But this, one of my wishes for 2019 was to use more purple, more blue, and more green eyeshadows. So this palette was right up my street. So I finally got my hands onto it, and I can't wait to play with this. I do have to say that it doesn't have as many greens as I'd hoped. This is more like a lime, like light green, and then you get these 3 here. But they look really stunning. And then you have some more like orange tone browns, like yellow undertones. And this shimmer right here is again one of those duochromes. It looks a bit blah in the pan, but I can already see where I swatched it. It has a hint of green to it. So I think this is the kind of shade that can really tie the entire palette together. But yeah, I can already see like 2 or 3 looks that I can do with this straight away. Definitely like all of the browns can go together, all of the greens can go together. But then I definitely also want to do a look where I mix and match some of the greens with the browns in here. Where the Zulu really sold me on the brights that Juvia's Place does, the Saharan II did that for their more neutral style palette. And I say this because this eyeshadow palette was one that I looked at and I was like, ooh, that's some dark colors in there. But I found that this works really, really well on me. Again, you have this stunning geometric like Moroccan style design in the middle or in the inlay, which I really enjoy. I like this better than the face in the middle. I prefer them doing this on the inside of all of their palettes. And because this also has the yellow packaging, it kind of makes the shade stand out really well. This palette does have a lot of shimmer though, so that's something you need to like. It's got 3 mattes on the bottom and everything else is a shimmer. This matte, however, this cranberry shade called Zora, ooh, one of the best shade Juvia's Place does by a mile, and that says something because all of their shadows are great quality. But this one, oh my god, it's stunning. This works in the crease, this works as a liner, it's deep enough to do so many different things, and you do get a nice matte transition shade, you get a darker brown to deepen things up if you like. These 3 shimmers in the middle, this cranberry, these 2 together, and you have a look. If you want to go a little bit more out there, put this blue on the lower lash line and you have a stunning bright shade for the summertime. To me, this is very much a summertime palette because it has these brighter pops of color. And then at the top, you just get some lighter shimmers that work well too, especially if you're fairer, then this is really nice. But this is such a nice, like smoky, sultry, rich cranberry style shades, and that's what I love about this palette. The only palette that I have in this shape is the Nubian II. I think this is also the only palette that comes in this shape. Maybe their original Nubian might also come in this style. But this also has 12 pans, but it is a little bit bigger than the smaller styles, the smaller sizes that I just showed you. But this is a great palette as well. This is perhaps a little bit more neutral than I thought it was going to be. But the reason why I love this is because of this green and this blue. This has some really gorgeous jewel tones, which makes this a very wearable palette. But if you're someone who's looking to get into color, this palette can definitely tickle that sweet spot if you'd like. It has some really nice transition shades here at the top. You get some really nice shimmers for all over the lid, an inner corner shade. This gold doesn't really work on my skin tone. It's a bit too warm for me, but you do get this plum shade as well. This purple shimmer is really nice, and then the blue and the green, like I mentioned. And you get a dark brown to sort of darken things up or use as a liner. So this is, again, a really nice all-rounder palette, I feel. And then we have the big ones. We have the Masquerade and the Magic palette. Let's talk Masquerade first. Now, I have the big ones. I wanted to get the mini of this because this is just a little bit too big for my taste. I don't like big palettes, and I'm actually considering, like, getting rid of these, like selling them somewhere and then getting the smaller ones, but I don't think I will because there's also something really cool about having such a big palette somehow. It has the massive pans that you also find in the 9 pan, but then you get 16 shades, and these are quite big. You will never use this up, which is another reason why, if you're interested in the Masquerade and in the Magic, get the mini. You don't need these big ones, really, you don't. So I really wished I would have done the smaller palettes. Oh well. The Masquerade is unique in the fact that you get 2 rows of neutrals and 2 rows of colors. So again, in terms of like a beginner Juvia's Place palette, if you're looking to get into the brand and you are into color and you want all the brights, but you also want to try their neutrals, then I think this is just one palette that does it all. And I think this is pretty cleverly laid out. You get some good like lighter shimmers, but you also get some darker mattes in here, at least dark enough for me. Maybe if you're a lot more darker skinned than I am, you might prefer this to be a little bit darker than it is. And I do feel that in this palette, Zulu and Ada and also Fulani and Burkina, those are quite similar almost. So if you, just because they're not next to each other might make you think like, oh, they are different, and they are a little bit different in undertone, but they are in very different shades. So I do feel you get quite a bit in here that's very similar. The same goes for the colors. This blue and this purple look very identical on the eyes, and also this blue and this blue are also again quite identical. You get a matte, like bright pink with like golden shimmer, which is not my favorite, but you get some really, really stunning shades in here, and it's just a really good palette that works really well. But if I have to dub one eyeshadow palette by Juvia's Place my favorite, and I know many people love this, it would be the Magic palette. Where the Masquerade palette has 2 rows of neutrals and 2 rows of color, this sort of does the same thing, but it has more color, I feel, and it has more warm tones here and then cool tones here. So where the split between the Masquerade is between neutral and colorful, this is between cool toned and warm toned. And especially the cool tones in here, oops, it's closing itself, especially the cool tones in here, they have my heart. These 2 purples. I go to this palette just for these 2 purples, and those are life. So this is a really like indigo, like very blue tone purple, and when you put this on the lid, I feel it looks quite similar to the navy that's in here, but this purple, it is a little bit more difficult to work with. You do have to build it up to get the intensity that you would like, but then this in the crease, that on the lid, so stunning. It's really, really stunning. You also get some like green shades, some blue shades in here. You have a really nice like charcoal silver. And then for the warm tones, you have a couple of good crease shades. You have a matte cream, which is really nice for blending things out. Again, a warm like orangey toned red, but this is not as bright as in the Saharan II, I feel. This is a bit more muted, making it work a little bit better. The gold in here is not my favorite because I feel it's a bit too yellow toned, but you have a couple of really nice like pinky shades. Again, these 2 are a little bit similar perhaps, and this is a gold that I can't get down with because it's not too yellow. It's a bit more muted and it has a bit more beige. It's more like a champagne-y gold, which works a little bit better with my skin tone. So I think that out of all of these, there's just one that isn't my favorite, but this is one of the best palettes that Juvia's Place does. In terms of color story, it gives you enough to play around with, but it also gives you a few neutrals to tie the look together. So there you have it, all of my Juvia's Place palettes. I am very well aware, as I said at the beginning, that I don't own any of their neutral palettes. Definitely the Warrior 1 is one that I'm eyeing up, but since that's so yellow toned, and since yellow toned golds aren't my favorite to begin with, I'm still very much on the fence about that one. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. If you would like to give this video a thumbs up because you liked it, that would be great. If you have a favorite Juvia's Place palette, then please let me know in a comment down below. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make new videos a couple of times a week normally, but this is part of Everyday May, meaning a new video every Monday through Friday for the entire month of May. By the time this video goes up, we've had already a couple of installments, so there's a lot you can either look back on, but there's also plenty still you can look forward to. So I really hope to see you in my next video. I hope you have a great day. Bye!